In the world of sports, we spend just a massive amount of time obsessing over number one,
Hmm.
the champion, the team holding the trophy. But I was looking at the data for this college football season, really sitting with the final bracket, and I realized there's a number that is, well, it's infinitely more painful than being number two.
Let me guess where you're going with this. You're talking about 13.
13. Specifically in the context of the college football playoff in December 2030. If you are a fan of the South Carolina Gamecocks right now, 13 isn't just a number, it's a wall. It's the exact moment the music stopped and you realized there were 12 chairs and you were the only one left standing.
It is the snub line.
That's exactly what it is. The snub line. The field is locked. The bracket's set. And sitting right there just staring at the glass is South Carolina. Ranked number 13, the first team out. And I'll be honest, when I saw the final rankings drop, my immediate reaction was, I think the reaction of most people in Columbia was to want to flip a table.
Which is a completely natural response.
Right. You want to scream about committee bias. You want to break down why the system is rigged. I was ready to come on here and do 20 minutes of just pure, unadulterated outrage.
But we're not going to do that.
We are absolutely not going to do that because when I actually stopped and unpacked everything, the story here isn't about a conspiracy. It's not about what South Carolina didn't get. It's about how they landed here, the massive statement they made in Death Valley to even be in the conversation, and, the honestly cinematic twist that's waiting for them.
That's the mission for this deep dive. We need to look at this with a little bit of maturity. This is a program under head coach A.C. Jordan that is wildly ahead of schedule. So no excuses, no snub talk. We're just going to break down the reality of a fascinating season and why ending up 13 might actually be, a badge of honor.
So let's start with the cold, hard reality of it, the math. South Carolina finishes the regular season 9-3. They're number 13, not in the playoff. My question to you is simple. Did the committee get it wrong?
If you look at the raw data, no. And that's the hardest part to swallow. South Carolina wasn't rejected because of a lack of talent or a bad resume. They were a victim of timing.
Explain that, because it feels like they did everything right down the stretch.
They did. But to understand the snub line, you have to look at the dominoes that fell during championship week. Heading into that weekend, there was a lane for South Carolina. A narrow one, but it was there. The problem is, for them to move up, someone else had to move down. And the way the games played out, it just froze the ladder.
It really feels like every single break that could have gone their way just went the exact opposite direction.
It really did. Let's look at the SEC championship first. You had Oklahoma versus Alabama.
Right. And Oklahoma, they just crushed them, 42-20.
Crushed them. And you're thinking, okay, Bama gets blown out. They have to drop.
They have to. Maybe that opens a spot right there.
Yeah. In a normal year?
Right.
Maybe. But you have to look at the body of work argument the committee always leans on. Alabama was 12-0 coming into that game.
Yeah.
They had so much equity in the bank. So even with the loss, the committee looked at the 12 wins, not just the one bad night. They only dropped Alabama to number 3.
So Oklahoma takes the number 1 seed. Alabama hoards the number 3 spot. That's 2 SEC teams right there.
Exactly. And that just squeezed the margins.
Yeah.
But the real dagger, the thing that I think truly sealed South Carolina's fate, that came from the ACC.
This was the Clemson situation.
Precisely. South Carolina had just beaten Clemson. Clemson had dropped to number 9. If Clemson loses that ACC championship game to Miami, they probably fall out of the top 12. But what happens?
Clemson turns around and wins.
They reclaim the automatic bid and jump all the way back up to number 5. And here's where the math just gets brutal for the Gamecocks. Miami lost, but they were still 10-3 with a strong resume. The committee decided they hadn't done enough to lose their spot entirely, so they stayed at number 8.
So the chairs just kept disappearing?
They evaporated. You had Fresno State staying perfect. You had Texas Tech handling business in the Big 12. The math just, it ran out of room. South Carolina wasn't rejected because the committee didn't think they were good. They're a data point that the committee clearly respects. That's why they're 13, not 20.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't squeeze 13 teams into 12 spots.
It's a game of musical chairs, and the music stopped when they were an inch too far from the seat.
That's the perfect analogy. If just one of those games goes differently, if Clemson loses, South Carolina slides in. But they didn't. So now the challenge is to look at the season not for what it isn't, but for what it was.
Let's pivot to that, because the reason it hurts to miss the playoff is that this team felt like a playoff team by the end of the year. This was year 1 of the A.C. Jordan era. And if you look at the resume, it's not just a collection of wins and losses. It's a story of evolution.
It really is. The season had these 3 distinct phases.
Yeah.
Early dominance, then that midseason resilience, and then this huge surge at the end. But the middle of the season is where they really forged their identity.
And that identity seems to be built on handling adversity. They had that shootout loss at Arkansas. But I want to drill down on the Oklahoma game.
The 38-37 loss.
Right. Now, typically, I hate the term moral victory. In the SEC, you either win or you lose. But it seems like that loss actually did more for the culture of the program than some of the wins.
It absolutely did. And it comes down to one decision by A.C. Jordan. You're playing the eventual #1 team in the country. It's a one-point game, seconds left. You score. You have a choice. Kick the extra point, go to overtime, or go for two and win it right there.
And the safe move, the one that protects your job, is to go to overtime.
100%. Nobody gets fired for losing to the #1 team in OT.
Right.
But he didn't do that. He kept the offense on the field. He went for the throat.
They didn't get it, obviously. The play failed.
The play failed, but the message didn't. Think about what that tells a locker room of 18 to 22-year-olds. The coach is telling them, I don't want to survive against Oklahoma. I want to beat them, and I trust you to do it. The belief in that locker room skyrocketed after that loss. It proved they were aggressive. It proved they weren't scared.
And that aggression seemed to bleed right over into the defense. Because we need to talk about that unit. I was looking at the stat lines you sent, specifically for Stephon Robinson, the linebacker.
The heartbeat of the defense.
I honestly thought there was a typo in the material for the Mississippi State game.
No typo.
His stat line reads, 10 tackles, a sack, and 4 forced fumbles. 4 in a single game.
It sounds impossible, doesn't it?
How is that physically possible? A good defense might force 2 fumbles as a whole unit. For one guy to strip the ball 4 times, that's not luck.
No, that's technique meeting opportunity. And it speaks to the chaos identity A.C. Jordan installed. Robinson isn't just tackling the man. He is attacking the football on every single play. That Mississippi State game, that was the perfect example of opportunism.
The defense scored 3 touchdowns in that game, right?
Yep, a blocked field goal return and 2 fumble returns. When your defense can score 21 points on its own, you are never out of a game. And that is the identity they carried into Death Valley.
Which brings us to the statement. Rivalry week. South Carolina versus Clemson, the Palm Meadows series.
The game that defines the year.
Context is so important here. South Carolina hadn't won this game in 3 years. Clemson was 10-1, ranked #2. It's a night game in Death Valley. Hardest place to play in the country. And South Carolina walks in and wins 28-20.
And what's fascinating here is how they won. This wasn't a lucky Hail Mary. This wasn't some fluke turnover fest. They went into Death Valley and just physically beat Clemson up.
That fourth quarter was something else.
It was dominance. South Carolina scored 14 unanswered points. They held Clemson scoreless when the pressure was highest. But the stat that jumps off the page for me is the rushing defense.
Lay it on me.
They held Clemson to 42 rushing yards on 19 attempts.
Wait, 42 yards total? For the whole game?
Total against a top 5 team. That is suffocation. When you make a team one-dimensional like that, you force the quarterback to be perfect. And South Carolina controlled the red zone.
And we have to give credit to Jermaine Paul. Redshirt sophomore goes into that environment, the noise is deafening, and he just didn't blink.
He wasn't perfect, but his poise was incredible. 200 yards, 3 touchdowns. And that winning touchdown pass to Kyle Bynes.
The senior.
The senior who's been there his whole career.
Yeah.
Threading that needle to take the lead. That is the kind of moment programs are built on. It validated everything.
And we can't forget Tyler Abraham. He was battling through injuries, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was banged up. Ran for 135 yards on 15 carries, averaging 9 yards a carry on bad legs. That just embodies the toughness.
And then to top it off, you have Manuel Chavez.
The third stringer.
The third string scat back, coming in cold to punch in a crucial touchdown. It just proved the strength in numbers theme. It wasn't one superstar. It was the whole roster.
And that's why this snub feels so weird. Because that win validated the entire season. They didn't leave the regular season with questions. They left with proof. They beat the #2 team on the road.
It's almost a cruel irony. That win proved they belonged in the playoff, but it happened just a little too late to overcome the math.
Exactly. That win is why they are number 13. Without it, they're probably a nice 8-4 team ranked around 20th. With it, they're the best team sitting at home. It's a bittersweet validation. You proved you belong, but you proved it to a committee that had run out of invites.
So that brings us to the present. Usually, when a team like this misses the playoff, the bowl game feels like a funeral. It's the consolation prize bowl. You play a 7-5 team, nobody cares, the players opt out.
It's usually a massive letdown spot. Motivation is almost zero.
But then I saw the matchup for the Armed Forces Bowl, South Carolina versus Georgia State, and I realized, wait a minute, this isn't a consolation game. This is a movie script.
It is the AC Jordan Bowl.
For listeners who maybe haven't been tracking the coaching carousel, we need to unpack why this is so spicy. It's not just that Georgia State is good.
Oh, Georgia State is very good. They're ranked number 14. They're 10-2. They just won the American Championship by destroying Rice 49-7. This is a legitimate, dangerous team. But the narrative twist is AC Jordan.
He was there last year.
Less than 12 months ago. AC Jordan built that Georgia State program. He recruited those kids. He installed that offense. He left them to come to South Carolina.
So now, in his final game of year one, he has to coach against the monster he created.
It's a collision of past versus present. And honestly, I think that saves the postseason for South Carolina. If they were playing some random opponent, it would be hard to get up for the game. But
Okay.
this is personal.
But tactically, isn't this a nightmare? You're playing a team that knows your playbook better than you do.
It is a massive disadvantage. The seniors at Georgia State spent 3 years listening to AC Jordan.
Yeah.
They know his hand signals. They know his tendencies on third down. It's like playing chess against yourself.
And from an emotional standpoint, you have to imagine Georgia State is furious.
Oh, they want blood. They want to prove they didn't need him.
Yeah.
If South Carolina walks into this game feeling sorry for themselves, Georgia State will embarrass them.
So it's the ultimate culture test. Can you put aside the disappointment and get up for a game that doesn't matter for the championship because it matters personally?
It's a chance to finish in the top 12. If you beat the number 14 team, you solidify your final ranking. You prove the SEC battle testing makes a difference.
It's almost better than a playoff game in terms of pure storytelling. Well, maybe not better, but it's certainly more dramatic than getting blown out by the number 1 seed.
It offers closure. It's a rare moment where a coach gets to see his past and his future on the same field at the same time.
So, as we wrap this up, let's reflect on the legacy of this season. In 10 years, when we look back at the 2030 Gamecocks, what are we going to remember? Are we going to remember that they finished 13th?
I don't think so. I think we'll remember the trajectory.
Yeah.
This was a transition year that didn't feel like one. 9-3. Established a culture of aggression with that 2-point call.
It feels like the launch pad.
That's the word, launch pad. They have a quarterback in Jermaine Paul who is only going to get better. They have a defense that creates chaos.
And a coach who clearly knows how to build belief.
That's the biggest takeaway.
So,
The belief to go into Death Valley after the heartbreak of the Oklahoma game and win. That takes a special kind of locker room.
here's a provocative thought for you to leave the listeners with. We talk so much about the playoff, the bracket, the national championship. It's all we consume. But looking at this specific season, the rivalry win, the drama, this
Yeah.
poetic bowl matchup, does a season like this, defined by a singular, culture-changing win over your rival and a movie script bowl game, does that actually carry more emotional weight for a fan base than, say, sneaking in at number 12 and losing by 3 touchdowns?
That is the question, isn't it? In a world of playoff expansion, we think playoff or bust. But deep down, college football is about emotion. It's about memories. Beating Clemson in Death Valley is a memory that lasts forever. A quiet first-round exit is forgotten by August. This season, despite the snub, might just be the more powerful story.
It's certainly the one I'd rather watch a documentary about. And you can watch the final chapter unfold at the Armed Forces Bowl. Do not treat this as an exhibition. Treat as the season finale of a show you definitely want to renew.
It's going to be a good one.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. Enjoy the bowl game, try not to think about the number 13, and we'll catch you on the other side.